Disclaimer: the content provided in our videos is for informational purposes only. We do not provide recommendations to buy or sell securities. And we encourage viewers to conduct their own research and seek guidance from a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Hello viewers, this is Preet Malde, research analyst at Piper Serica, and I'm joined by Ajay Modi, investment director at Piper Serica, and we have a few insights on the auto sector in India, and I'd like Ajay Modi to continue from here.
So, we currently do not have any exposure to auto companies in our portfolio. Over the last 1 week, we have done a lot of conversations with channel partners in the auto industry, dealers of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, commercial vehicles, tractors. We also spoke to a couple of financiers in the two-wheelers, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and different auto companies. We've also done some conversations with people in FADA, which is a quasi-regulator of auto industry. And our insights today are basically to present our views on why we do not have companies in the auto industry, and at the same time, where do we see opportunities that we may add in the portfolio going forward. To start with, let me give you a little insight into what is happening in the two-wheeler space. Two-wheeler remains a very, very large market. There are a lot of listed companies in the two-wheeler consumer vehicle space, and that's why starting with two-wheeler makes a lot of sense. So in the two-wheeler ecosystem, what we have gathered, obviously Preet will share his thoughts. What we have gathered is that there is a lot of slowdown in the entry-level two-wheeler segment. And this entry-level two-wheeler segment remains a very large market. It's almost 60% of the total volume of the entire two-wheeler industry, which is seeing a very sharp slowdown or drop in demand. And that is specifically because of affordability issues. When I say that, what I mean is that in the last 2 years, costs of two-wheelers have gone up by almost 40%, whereas the income or the savings of the buyers hasn't gone up by that amount. And hence, affordability is starting to become a challenge. That is why in the last 2 quarters, we have seen very sharp slowdown with the two-wheeler numbers. While there is this slowdown in the entry-level two-wheelers, we saw green shoots or some positive triggers for electric vehicles, electric two-wheelers specifically, and also for scooters. The reason scooters are seeing decent demand, I wouldn't say very good demand, decent demand, is because in rural areas, the commute is not that large in terms of kilometers driven in a day, and hence rural buyers are kind of gravitating towards scooters. And at the same time, in the urban side also, there are a lot of new buyers who would not want to ride a geared motorcycle, and hence scooters is becoming a good product for them as well. So scooters in a nutshell is seeing good demand from both urban and rural, and hence the demand continues to be decent. However, the largest player or a company which is very heavily focused on scooters, which is TVS Motors, currently trades at a slightly expensive valuation, and that's why we are in a wait and watch mode. We used to have TVS Motors in our portfolio earlier. We made good money and exited, but we can look at adding that company again. Though right now the valuations look a little steep for the kind of demand. Other than that, I would like Preet to kind of share his opinion on and his fact finding on the electric vehicle side and other two-wheeler.
So, as you said, I totally resonate. In some sense, two-wheelers, in the two-wheeler space, scooters have become the new entry level because there is the price point at which the entry level bikes are being sold, it is a very competitive price point where you cannot easily pass over the raw material price increases to the customers. And that is becoming very tricky for players like Hero, who have been playing in the space, which with bikes like HF100 and Splendor, Passion. So the stickiness of customers in that price point is not there, and actually customers are gravitating more towards utility and premium segment products. So when I say utility, it becomes the scooter segment, because in a very obvious sense, the scooters are better when it comes to utility, and the premium segment, which is growing amazingly well, the commuter premium segment and the premium segment, take the Royal Enfields or the TVS Apaches or such kinds, they are doing pretty well. So companies are actually trying to pivot towards the premium segment, and we are seeing Honda coming out with new kinds of showrooms like the Big Wing, and it is the similar strategy that Maruti took with Nexa. But the companies that are pivoting towards the premium segment are actually trying to do better. But companies like Hero, who have been struggling with the premium segment, they came out with Maverick. They came out with a partnership with Harley, but it hasn't done very well. So I think the way to go ahead from here as an investor is to focus on not only volumes, but also the value that the company is adding, and the kind of newer models and the more premium models that the company is bringing, and how they are trying to pivot their brand. So it is very simple. Right now, no one would want to buy a 3-4 lakh bike from Hero. But when it comes to, let's say, TVS has done it beautifully with its Apache models, and Honda has been doing it beautifully. Royal Enfield, of course, we look at it as an amazing premium brand. So in that sense, I think it is very important to focus on companies that are catering to premium products. And I would like to know if you have anything to add on the electric two-wheeler segment.
In the electric two-wheeler segment specifically, what we gathered is that, again, the demand in rural India remains quite positive. That specifically is because A, the distances traveled again are not too large. B, the rural India still gets, like farmers still get a lot of subsidy or electricity, so electricity cost is cheaper. And C, the ability to set up a charging point in their homes is quite easy in a rural individual house compared to very large apartments in the urban India. So, I mean, these were the points that the dealers mentioned to us, that adoption of electric two-wheelers in urban India remains a challenge, specifically because of the charging infra and the range anxiety. And we do not have right now any specific two-wheeler company that is very heavily focusing on electric two-wheelers. The Bajaj, TVS, Hero, everyone is trying, but none of them have a portfolio approach right now to the electric two-wheeler segment. For us as investors, we would like to see some of these companies create a portfolio approach around electric two-wheelers. And like Preet mentioned, I think one of these companies will have to try and see if they can set up a specific showroom line for electric two-wheelers. Because from a consumer perspective, I think the consumer gets confused when he sees an electric two-wheeler parked next to a petrol two-wheeler. And also the sales, the way a petrol two-wheeler is sold, the questions that are asked for a petrol two-wheeler versus the questions that are asked for an electric two-wheeler are very, very different. Hence, right now, we are taking a slightly cautious approach, or a wait and watch approach to the two-wheeler segment overall. We think there will be value that will emerge from one of these scooter companies or one of these companies like TVS, who is focusing on premiumization, who's tapping the urban demand, and is also having some focus on two-wheelers. But I think it is a little too early. Beyond that, Preet, would you like to take us through your findings of the consumer vehicle segment? What has been that?
Yeah, so I'll come to consumer vehicles in a while. I have some things to add on the electric two-wheeler side. I mean, in the listed space, there were a few companies that tried to go aggressively in the electric two-wheeler space, like Creeves Cotton and with their Ampere brand. But it didn't do very well. There were many reasons for it. They weren't eligible for subsidies, and then they had to pay that back. And but despite them heavily investing in electric two-wheelers and focusing primarily on that, there were companies like Bajaj, TVS who outperformed Ola in times where Ola was seemingly undefeatable. So I think that the listed companies with deeper pockets to enter into these markets have a huge edge over Ola and other companies that do not have that level of distribution and that level of reach in the market. So I really think that there are amazing opportunities in the listed space for the electric two-wheelers industry. But at the same time, lenders are pretty wary when it comes to lending for electric two-wheelers, because there is no clarity, no certainty about the residual value of the electric scooter. Because almost 80% of the value of the scooter is in the battery, and the battery life is at, on an average, the battery lasts for 7 to 8 years when it comes to private vehicles. So it is very difficult to gauge residual value right now because we do not know what the scooter would be worth after that. And even before that, I actually just checked with a dealer, and they said that just to check the residual value of their electric two-wheeler, they took it to a second-hand scooter dealer, and it was just a 1-year-old scooter. And the range of offers they got from multiple dealers, it ranged from 40,000 to 90,000. No one has a real idea about what a second-hand scooter, second-hand electric two-wheeler would sell for. So that is the reason lenders are a bit wary right now. There are a lot of startups that are trying to lend, that are pushing electric two-wheeler lending, but the established players are still holding back to some extent. But I think this will improve as the industry matures and more clarity comes into play. So yeah, that's about the electric two-wheeler side. In the commercial vehicle side, I think the infrastructure development, mainly for heavy vehicles, is going to play a huge role. Until now, they were just, if we want to take it practically, there have been huge announcements in the infrastructure space. But once they start playing out, and once the construction and the infrastructure begins, that is when we'll see heavy vehicles demand to come up. If the GDP growth is 6% plus and infrastructure contributes to a good amount in that, then we'll probably see high single digit to mid-teens growth in heavy vehicles, heavy commercial vehicles. But other than that, there are challenges in that space, because there are multiple reasons. But one of the primary reasons that I found out was the replacement demand that every analyst and every investor used to look at is now somewhere fading away from the picture, because the quality of the trucks after BS4 has improved so much that the replacement cycle has gotten a lot longer. And right now, I think if we want to analyze a commercial vehicles company, we shouldn't account for replacement demand separately. We should look at demand as a whole, and we should project or look at revenue and the P&L in that way. So that is in the heavy commercials vehicles side. But when it comes to light commercial vehicles, medium commercial vehicles, uh, we are seeing electric to come into play in some way, but the payload capacity of electric commercial vehicles is too low. And in some cases, the Tata Ace electric payload was being compared to auto rickshaw payloads. I mean, because the payload is so low, there is direct competition from auto rickshaws in the semi-urban and rural localities. So there is still some work to be done in the electric space, but in general, I think the demand disparity between heavy commercial vehicles and light commercial vehicles is huge. Light commercial vehicles, the demand is pretty strong. We can expect anywhere between 15 to 18% growth in demand over there because basic e-commerce is growing and last mile deliveries are growing, and logistics in general is largely been driven by small commercial light commercial vehicles. So I think, and from what I have checked, I think that there is huge demand coming in for these. But when it comes to heavy commercial vehicles, there are a lot of factors that are affecting the demand, and that may affect the demand for at least the next year.
No, I think commercial vehicle, as you rightly said, there is demand, but I think what has happened in the last couple of years is that logistics is getting broken into pieces, as in what was earlier being driven by medium and large commercial vehicles is currently kind of getting broken and distributed, and the smaller commercial vehicles, the light commercial vehicles are taking that market away. However, in that as well, I mean, there are companies in the commercial vehicle segment, but there is no single company which does only light commercial vehicles. And everyone, I mean, take an example of Ashok Leyland, they have presence in the medium and heavy commercial vehicles as well as some presence in light commercial vehicles. The other company in the light commercial vehicle segment, Tata has a very successful product called Tata Ace Chota Hathi. And right now Tata is focusing, what we picked up from a lot of dealers is that Tata is focusing actively and aggressively on market share versus profitability, which kind of is forcing a lot of other players also to drop prices. That does well in the shorter term. In the longer term, for a capital heavy business like this, they will have to eventually focus on margin. So that is what we will watch out for. And as and when we see that picking up, that will be a good time to look at some of these companies.
So Tata actually has been leading the way when it comes to pricing. In the later half of last year, they had reduced their prices and had offered attractive discounts until December. But now they have actually been reducing the discounts, and Tata has been leading the way. So the sales have taken actually a good amount of hit for Tata because they have been reducing discounts, and other players like Ashok Leyland are also following the same path because the pricing of last year wasn't sustainable enough. The discounts that they were offering weren't sustainable enough. So they had to take the sales hit by reducing the discounts, and that's what we are seeing right now. So Tata has been leading the way when it comes to pricing, but we'll have to see that the reduced discounts do not lower the sales substantially.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the last segment of the auto space, which is passenger vehicles. We haven't spoken to anyone in the tractor space as yet. So as in when we do that, we will come out with that update separately. In the passenger vehicle segment, we did speak to one of the largest dealers of the largest passenger vehicle company in the country, which is Maruti. And what we picked up is, so there were good and bad signals both in terms of the discounting or in terms of demand going forward in this year. passenger vehicle, dealers are expecting demand to be flat or slightly lower because of the high base of last year. And at the same time, in the last 2 years, the prices of passenger vehicles have also, new passenger vehicles, new cars, have gone up almost by 30%. So that is kind of becoming one deterrent for a lot of new purchases. In fact, to an extent that December saw one of the highest discounts of the current financial year, in the sense that on an average, specifically for Maruti, on an average, the discounts in the festive season, which is generally the time when there are higher discounts, the discounts in the festive season from the OEM was 40 to 45,000 rupees, along with a dealer discount of 10 to 15,000 rupees, collectively making about 50 to 60,000 rupees of discount on a vehicle. This number in December was 55,000 rupees from the OEM and almost 20,000 rupees from the dealer, which means that the average discount in December was 75,000 rupees compared to 65,000 rupees in the peak festive season. That clearly shows that there is inventory pressure on both OEM as well as dealer. In fact, to an extent that in some dealers or in some geographical regions, the inventory days is almost more than a month. Having said that, the demand for SUVs in the current year also looks to be good, though at a slower pace than last year. In fact, one of the dealers mentioned that this year, as in calendar year 24, has seen a lot of preponement in buying, which means that 25 could see some slowdown. One of the other reasons mentioned by a couple of these dealers is that the lending rates or the interest rates on loans on new car as well as used cars remain very high. They expect or they would desire or request, they made a case to their industry association that these lending rates should be reduced at least by 0.5% to 1%, which also means that RBI, it is high time for the RBI to act on reducing interest rates by some margin to be able to give some benefit to the end consumer and thereby open the economy for some consumption. Other than that, one of the interesting insights that we gathered from talking to the passenger vehicle segment is that the used car segment in India is very large, and to an extent that this year, as in calendar year 25, dealers are expecting used car volumes to be more than new car volumes. In India, the passenger vehicle segment sees an annual sales of about 34 to 35 lakh new cars. The industry is expecting used cars sales of almost 4 million or 40 lakh units. So we are looking at some opportunities and doing some research in the used car segment. In the electric cars, there does not seem to be very strong penetration as yet. The penetration remains to be sub 7%, which is why a lot of dealers were not very confident of electric passenger cars. In fact, there were rumors that Maruti is expected to announce an electric car by the close of this financial year, which dealers did not agree to or did not concur to. They haven't heard of this from Maruti. So it does not look like that there is a very aggressive push on electric four-wheelers or electric cars. However, a flip side to that is that the CAFE 3 norms, which is the emission norms for OEMs, will kick in next year. To be able to kind of have a well coverage in CAFE 3 norms, the OEMs will have to reduce their volumes of diesel vehicles and increase their volumes of CNG or electric four-wheelers. What dealers also mentioned is that there is strong demand in the CNG SUV segment, but there are not many offerings. Only Maruti and the rebadged version of one of the Maruti cars by Toyota. Only these two models have a CNG variant. Other than that, no other OEM is currently having a company-fitted CNG variant for SUVs. So, as and when we see new launches of SUVs and new launches of CNG SUVs, that will become a good trigger for growth, and I think that is when we will look at some of these four-wheeler or passenger vehicle companies. Lastly, on the diesel vehicle sales itself, which was kind of slow late last year, has stabilized, and companies are expecting, or dealers are expecting, diesel vehicle sales to be decent in this year. Why be cautious that the OEMs may not want to push diesel sales because of the CAFE 3 norms. The CAFE 3 norms, in fact, actually become a risk for companies like Mahindra and Mahindra, who have a very high diesel portfolio. And I think that is the reason that Mahindra has announced launch of 2 electric cars already to be able to balance their portfolio in a way that they do not end up paying penalties in the CAFE 3 norms. They have to reduce reliance on diesel and I think bring out a couple of more models in the electric vehicle. Having said that, there does not seem to be too much positive in the new passenger vehicle sales. And we think we are working on the used passenger vehicle research. We think we should be able to find something. And as and when we do, we will keep communicating that. With that, I would like to stop here, and any comments, any feedback on this is welcome. Preet, if you have any closing remarks.
Yeah, so just to conclude, I'd like to say that the dynamics in the auto industry have been changing. We are seeing the premium segment grow amazingly better than the entry-level segment in the electric, in the two-wheelers. We are seeing the commercial vehicles getting highly dependent on the infrastructure development, and the electric space in the commercial vehicles changing things dynamically, and we are also seeing changes in the passenger vehicle space. So I think that this is a very interesting time to be in, to study the auto sector well, and wait for opportunities to emerge, because in the markets that we are in right now, I think that there will be times where we get attractive valuations for the companies that we like and that we'd like to be a part of. So I think that this is a very good time to keep studying about the sector, and to know more about different industries, about different sectors that we study. It would be great if you subscribe to the channel, and you will be updated with every new insight that we come up with. So thank you so much for watching, and leave a comment if you have any questions. We'd feel great to answer all your questions, and also do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.